Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Depth Looksie Part 2, and this is where I'm going to be looking at the codex, giving you my initial impressions after having read it cover to cover. I'm not going to go in depth on anything here. I'm just going to give you my, well, not so much initial, but impressions after having read it cover to cover. I actually read it the same day I got it, but I've just been unable to do a ramble up until now. So, the codex has been fully read by me. And my initial impressions is overall, I enjoy it. I think the fluff in this codex works very well. Obviously, very Skitarii themed. It's a Skitarii codex, but it definitely tells you about the Skitarii. It tells you about the Mechanicum, Forge Worlds, Tech Priest, stuff like that. It covers all the bases, which is always good. I don't feel it particularly steps on any toes either, which is also always good. And by that I mean I don't think it really contradicts any of the real established fluff in the past. Um, Maybe for some Skitarii bits of it, but even still, it's not like just knocking over the old fluff and replacing it with what's here. I just feel it's trying to complement perhaps what's been established and maybe changing some minor things, and that's fine. But yeah, overall, the fluff, I enjoyed it. Are there things in the fluff that I'm not that much of a fan of? Sure, but that's to be expected. On the army list side of things, the army list has no HQ and it's 7 units strong. But I enjoy what's here. The biggest thing is, and it's not the Codex's fault, the fault lies with GW not really properly kind of advertising the Codex and letting us know right up front what the deal is. Now, I had a sneaking suspicion based on what they released before the Codex was announced, and then once the Codex was announced and I saw it was only 80 pages, I definitely had the sneaking suspicion that, hey, this is not going to be a full codex like a Space Marine codex or something. So I wasn't necessarily disappointed or let down by the size. Would I have liked more? Sure, but I definitely expected to be something small like this. And 7 units is good. You know, it's definitely a lot better than 2 of the Imperial Knights, although I was fine with that for the Imperial Knights because it made sense. But 7 compared to that is much better. So I enjoy the special rules for this codex. It's definitely very fitting for the Skitarii and the mechanical feel. The war gear is fantastic because it's all very much Mechanicum themed. It definitely gives you the feel of the Mechanicum, and that's something that I had to be done, and I was concerned about if it wasn't done that way, but it is, and it's done very well. So the war gear is fantastic for that Mechanicum feel, because that's important. So the Skitarii war gear is great. The Skitarii entries are good too. I mean, I enjoy them. Not, all of them are my cup of tea. I have a particular play style. And not all of the war gear is up to my snuff in terms of what I enjoy. But nevertheless, overall, I think a very stout, solid job. I do. I definitely feel, after having read this codex, that you could play it as a primary detachment by itself, no allies, have a strong list, and do very well with it. I definitely think you can do that for sure. And I really do think if GW were to really be upfront with everybody on their website and somehow work into the product description that it's only 7 units strong or whatever it is, or somehow let people know this, I think less people would end up disappointed by purchasing it only to find that out. So overall, I enjoyed the codex. I'm not going to say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I really enjoyed it. However, it left me wanting more. And in reading it cover to cover and going back to certain parts of it, I do have a theory. And my theory for this codex is that GW was working on a greater encompassing Mechanicum codex for 40k. Maybe they're still working on it. Who knows, right? It's just a theory. I have nothing to back it up. And for whatever reason, they decided to cut out the Skitarii army list stuff, cut out the Skitarii fluff and some Mechanicum fluff stuff, stitch it all together, and call it a Codex Skitarii, and sell it to us. Now, I'm not sure why. Maybe the Codex is taking longer to make than they thought it would, so they wanted to get something out. Maybe they want to do the 1-2 punch to make more money off the Mechanicum. Who knows? But that's my theory. It may not be true at all. It may not hold any water, but that's my theory on this codex. it just, there's certain things in the fluff section, certain things in the armorless section that just make me feel like there should be more here. It makes me feel like this was part of something bigger. So that's all I'm going to say here. That's my initial impression. But overall, I enjoyed it. I would, at some point, want to start collecting these guys, to be honest. And I say at some point just because of the time and money constraints, and because I already have Dark Angels and working on some other stuff in 40k already, so there's plenty of money going into the hobby as it stands. But also, I don't really know anybody who plays 40k in my area, so those are some of the hurdles to overcome. But over time, I would eventually like to collect these guys for sure. And with that being said, don't let my theory discourage you. If you are interested in this Skitarii, definitely give the Codex a purchase and look into it for yourself. See if you'll enjoy collecting it or not. But anyways, that's it. So in part 3, I'm going to go over the fluff, and I'm going to go over some of the fluff in it, not all the fluff, because we'll be there for hours. But I'm going to go over the fluff a little bit, and I'm going to make sure I touch upon a couple of aspects of the fluff that I think support my theory. But that's basically it. And honestly, I'm more curious than anything to see if my theory holds any water. I know it's not a super unique theory. I'm pretty sure there are other people out there who have a similar theory to mine. And I'm curious if my theory does hold any water at all. And only time will tell, if at all. GW is not just going to come out and go, by the way, and tell us, If it does hold true, and if they eventually release a second book, and it feels very similar to the Skitarii, then my theory would have held some water. But there's no way to know right now. So anyways, that's really it for that. Thanks for sticking through this ramble. This is going to be a big multi-parter, just so you know. I'm really going to go in depth on the units for sure, the war gear and stuff like that. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm a big fan of the Mechanicum. This is a big step to go ahead and release a whole new faction into the 40k gameplay. So I want to give it the proper in-depth look that I feel it deserves. So that's why this is going to be a big multi-parter. So I wanted to brace you for that. It might take some time to get this series done. But anyways, that's it. Thanks for sticking through it. The next one will be fluff. So until next time, take it easy.